Go right ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who came. And as you know, the event is being organized by the Writers' Union of Canada, so thanks to them, and also the Canada Council for the Art. Last but not least, cote-saint-luc Library and wonderful Maria Rossini. So the caveat on this thing is that when this event was organized several months ago, being an optimist, I thought, okay, the book will be done and maybe in print or something. So this event became a book launch because I thought there will be a book, but it's not. So I'm just going to read part of its first chapter, and then we can talk about it. The title of this chapter is Persimmon, Pomegranate, and Autumn Leaves. It has two sections. The title has two parts. So I'm just reading the first part because the second part might give the story a bit away. You're going to be just fine, Roksana. My friend Greta says while stroking my forehead, her eyes red, puffy. I know I'm in Tehran, but where? The room is all white. There are neon lights, and the smell of Dettol rushes into my nose. My bed is next to a large window, and that overlooks the city. Soon I recognize that's Irfan Hospital. My surgery is over. I have just regained consciousness. It's October 2015. I have a replay of this very moment in my head from time to time, especially in autumn. A few days earlier than that evening, I had completed a mission in Sanandaj, Kurdistan, the capital of a Kurdish province in Iran. Driving with an SUV up the mountain outside Sanandaj, all I could see was green and lush. Kurdistan fascinated me since I was a child. And as soon as I arrived, I became part of the Kurdish dance, with tempo, the passion, and the connection between the people. The afternoon mist had spread throughout the mountains, and with each turn, we went higher and higher as the sun rays faded. Even though it was beautiful, I was completely nauseous. We had 2 meetings, and in all villages I visited, the locals offered me my favorite seasonal fruits, persimmons of the deepest orange and pomegranate of the sweetest flavor. I felt I could live and work among these mountain people and be happy. It took me years of struggle to attain a senior advisor position in a UN program on women's economic empowerment based in Tehran. It was a long journey from completing a doctorate in sociology at McGill and that UN project. 6 months into the project, my nausea turned into non-stop vomiting. Eventually, I ended up in an emergency ward. No, ma'am, you cannot go to Cairo. You can't without intravenous feeding right now. You can't be without it right now, the emergency doctor said. He looked into my eyes with sympathy. But I have submitted my paper. It's an international conference. This is very important conference. People are waiting for me. I have bought my ticket. I've reserved my hotel. There is slight chance you will be able to make it to the airport and get on that flight. But I can assure you that you will not get off it alive. You are very sick, ma'am. You have 2 large tumors lodged in your head. And that could kill you any moment. He adjusted his eyeglasses, cleared his throat, and looked into my eyes, pretending to be indifferent. Pretending this was a matter of professionalism. A few nurses came closer around him in the emergency room and could overlook the conversation. I kept arguing with him that I needed to go to Cairo until finally he threw his hands in the air and gave up. I didn't believe the diagnosis. They were making a mistake. This could not be happening to me. And I set about to discharge myself from the hospital. Greta, at that point, Greta, my friend, had contacted another friend, Bahare, a prominent physician who went on a massive search for the top neurosurgeon in Tehran. She came and see me and whispered into my ears, Roksana, this is a good hospital. The neurosurgeon is the best there is. Iranians from all over come and seek him out. Bahare stood next to Greta, and the 2 of them circled me. She took my hands in hers and looked straight into my eyes, and I saw in her love and shining sincerity. At that moment, I knew that I could trust her and I should go with the operation. But for me, the whole thing was impossible. I had started this work a few months ago. I was among a handful of academics with a PhD from top university in from a North American university who specializes in women and economic empowerment in the Muslim world, who spoke Persian. What's going to happen to my NGO in Baluchistan? What about those children who I was going to help with this NGO? As I am thinking, the operation door opens. Two days later, my nurse tells me to walk over to the bathroom. For the first time since my operation, I see my image in a mirror. Jaw drops. All my hair gone. I'm bald. They never asked me. They didn't tell me. When did they shave all my hair? 1 month later, after the operation, I returned to Montreal. It takes forever to find a neurosurgeon. And the worst is that he says that I need radiation. Where the tumors were, they will come back. It is impossible to have cleared all cells. They will be back in less than 2 years. My neurosurgeon says, not observing the shock on my face. And I ask her, so what's going to happen to me? You will lose your hair, your teeth, your hearing, my hair. Okay, tooth, hearing. No, I am not going to allow you to fry my brain, and I'll take a chance. There is no way I'm going to have my brain fried. I'd rather die and go into coma. Probably easier than having to go through a brain fry. This time, I will take the chance. I will not follow the prognosis. In the following days, weeks, and months, I discovered that it's not my hair that's gone, that I am unable to read or write. After a long career as an academic, 2 postdoctorates and several published books by academic publishers in London and New York, I can't look at a book, I can't hold a pen, I can't even face a computer screen. My memory is shot, my attention and focus gone. At times in the middle of the day, I wonder where I am. Months pass with me lying on a yoga mat in excruciating pain, shivering with fear. More days, weeks, months, and every time I look at myself in the mirror, I am haunted by the same question. Who are you? I mean, who am I? Or where is me? The worst question is the last one. Where is me? Me that I have known for many decades, nowhere to be found. I can't be in the same room with my own children, 4 children to whom I have dedicated most of my life. Their presence gives me heart palpitation. Their voices give me a headache. I have nothing to say to them, and I don't want to hear them talking to me. I want them to leave, but then when they're gone, I miss them. I want to rest, but I'm so tired of resting. Living and being, what a huge burden. I need magic and divine intervention. This is my body. It does look like the woman I used to see in the mirror, but I don't recognize her within. I want to be alone, but then I am lonely. I try resting, but I'm lonely. I try to rest, but then I'm tired of resting. I'm alive, but the person I knew is just not there. She's gone, dead. Days, nights, weeks, months pass by. Slowly I gain enough strength to dance. First on a yoga mat, on my back and in my living room. And then after a few months, I can drag myself to the local dance studio for a milonga. On the day I go to first dance, I discovered that the dancer in me is there. That the academic is dead, but the dancer is alive. The more I reach out to the inner dancer, the woman, the more I sort of see a version of me coming back. It's on that dance floor that the inner dancer who knew was part of the old me, who I knew was part of the old me, gives a glimpse of the familiar. The woman who loved the crowded milongas of Buenos Aires is there. I feel her. The milonguera is alive. The woman who loves looking through window shops, searching for her favorite orange, purple, strawberry, pistachio, mango gelatos, or ice cream on the streets of Palermo, Soho. She is in me, I know. Every time I dance, the sound of bandoneon, violin, and piano takes me to my core. I see part of me who has survived. The woman who, after a night of dance, sway and twirls back from the milonga to her hotel is alive. The woman who recites Borges when she passes the house where Borges lived. I know this woman. This is me as I know myself. This was the same person who loved being lost and found in Santo Elmo Colonial Sunday market flea at the heart of Buenos Aires, looking at where clothes and silverware, fair coats, antique laces, ancient paintings, and old vinyl records are displayed. All of them seem to be serenading the home they had left and longing to be rescued from the limbo of street life. I hold on to these occasional faint version of the person I was, as if my life depended on them. The rope that connects this new person in bits and pieces comes, and I cling on her as I cross from the unknown to the familiar, while Astor Piazzolla Oblivion plays in my head. Slowly, I began to tolerate the company of others. I can tolerate crowd, and I'm sometimes even able to watch a movie. The heavy burden of being starts to become lighter. But life brings new events, always unexpected. A few years into my recovery, the pandemic hits. Dance is closed. Isolation, loneliness, another hurricane has hit my life only 4 years after. What now? Where do I find the magic, the divine intervention? Perhaps Persian poetry, which I have been raised, will come to rescue me. With that, I start to read short poems in Persian, the language of my roots, thinking of myself and how going like a tree caught in a hurricane, holding on to her roots. This poem can help me hold to my roots instead of being blown away again. Rumi's poetry is music and dance. Hafiz brings the wisdom of a sage. And Khayyam poetry is a reminder of life pleasure. Attar invites me to fly for a breath of the divine. They bring life, passion, and power. With their voices reciting in the background, the pen is light and comes into my hands. I try a little writing, and the pen moves shakingly on the paper. Then I remember how I have always wanted to be a writer. With that, I write a blog for the Quebec Writers Federation, and they immediately publish it. A few sets of stars seems to have been aligned. Perhaps I could write again. Life in a circle. There was a death and a rebirth. Now, every time and around mid-October, when the surgery nearly killed me, I looked from the city, overlooking a city covered with red, orange, green, faded green leaves. Prism, pomegranate, and poetry feeds my soul and my body. The inner dancer hears Shams Tabrizi calling Rumi to dance, and I hum. It is never too late to ask yourself, am I ready to change my life? Am I ready to be someone entirely different? Am I able to be reborn to a new life? No matter how old, no matter what I went through, the wisdom of Persian poetry whispers. It is always possible to be reborn. And indeed, if every day is a carbon copy of the day before, life is a routine, a chore. Yes, every breath is a chance to be reborn. But to reborn, to live a life, not the one one had, one must die before dying. Thank you.
Holy goodness, these ladies are from, I think they're Persian for you. I don't know what language. They're here for jewelry. She made that beautiful necklace a few weeks ago. She doesn't speak English though. So you may want to, but her granddaughter does.
Roksana, can you share with us what your favorite Rumi poem is?
One of the most favorite one is that you dance inside me where no one sees you, but I do.
And are you back in dance now?
Oh, yes. Without dance, I think there is no life.
We're open to questions now. Any other questions?
You mentioned the divine miracle twice. Can you enlarge on that? Do you think there's just enlarge?
Yes, well, I think when you really hit rock bottom, when you have a near-death experience and you don't die, and at that moment you become very spiritual and you think, oh, there must be another thing in this world, something. Actually, I think that the fact that I did not die was a very big coincidence. Few days before the operation, I was flying in one of those, because of the sanctions, Iranian airplanes are like the old Russian, Soviet Union airplanes. I was on one of those with really big cabin pressure problem. And that's the recipe to kill someone with a brain tumor. And I didn't die. And I came back, and it was just, I think it was an accident that I did not die. So, when you get to be in that situation, then you start to believe that there must be something bigger than me, bigger than this moment, bigger than this world. And I think that that's what you need. And then, this is a huge event that when happens to you. And then 4 years later, the COVID is a big hurricane, everything shuts down. And both of these were so sudden and so close, like a few years apart. And I think that what I take from Persian poetry is that the mysticism that is so deeply embedded. And I think about how Persians lived through all these invasions. The country was invaded so many times. And I thought to myself, when that happened, okay, we lived through all these terrible events. And why would there be such a rich tradition of literature? And that's where I thought about the divine. And I think that every day is a day to be grateful.
Can you tell us about your upcoming documentary film?
Oh, yes, thank you very much for asking that question. Yes, at Benny Library, I made a documentary. Like I had another career before all that, and I made a documentary on women in Afghanistan. When I made it, it was post-Taliban. So I wanted to know what was the difference before and after Taliban, and that's the documentary. And then there's an upcoming event at Benny Library, 13th of September. I'll be showing the film and reading a chapter from my book.
When is it? It's Saturday, Roksana?
It's a Wednesday.
I'm sorry, you said September. I was thinking August.
No, September. Yes.
September, you said
13th. Yes, at 6 o'clock at Benny Library. And then there is another event at Montreal West Library where I read personal story about a backstreet abortion. I think that's very timely to talk for women to come forward and talk about their experience with backstreet abortion. So these are the events that are coming.
So the passage that you read today, that's going to be in your memoir. When do you think that the memoir will be available to order from?
This is a concise version of the chapter because I didn't want to read a long text. I'm hoping it will be ready. Well, when I started, you start a project, a writing. I know who I am when I write academic books. I know when I start. I know when I finish. I know the drill. I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But with a project like this, where you pour your heart and you have to be creative, and it's like new to me. It's true that I have many books, but they were very different from this one. I'm hoping that it will be ready next year. Yes.